Next chapter is Directive Principle of State Policy. Directive Principle of State Policy are enumerated in Part 4 of the Constitution from Article 36 to 51. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar described these principles as novel features of Indian Constitution. Granville Austin has described the directive principles and fundamental rights as the conscience of the Constitution. It promotes the principles of social and economic democracy and envisages establishing a welfare state. Directive principles, together with fundamental rights, contain the philosophy of Constitution and are known as soul of the Constitution. Reasons why DPSP are non-justiciable. First, fiscal constraint. Example, providing a universal right to work, Article 41, would have bankrupted state treasury in 1950. Second, administrative limitation. The state machinery was initially insufficient to manage complex social reforms like universal education or health infrastructure. Third, vast geographical and social diversity made uniform application of certain principles difficult and potentially socially disruptive. Example, Uniform Civil Code, Article 44. Fourth, political sanction versus judicial sanction. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar argued that real sanction behind DPSP is public opinion and the ballot box, not the courtroom. Fifth, flexibility of governance. Non-justiciability allows the government to prioritize goals based on the prevailing socio-economic climate and urgent national needs. Sixth, potential for institutional conflicts. Making DPSPs justiciable would have led to constant friction between the judiciary and the executive over policy-making priorities. Seventh, evolutionary nature of rights. Many DPSP goals were intended to mature into fundamental rights as the nation progressed and resources grew. Example, right to education. Eighth, DPSP serves as a moral code for the state, guiding the conscience of legislatures rather than imposing rigid legal chains. Ninth, preventive legal overload on judiciary. Amendments in DPSP. 42nd Amendment Act 1976. First, Article 39, Subclause F, opportunity for children to develop in a healthy manner and protection against exploitation. In 42nd Amendment Act, another three things were added. Article 39A, free legal aid to the poor. 43A, steps to secure worker participation in management of industry. 48A, protect and improve the environment and safeguard forests and wildlife. 44th Amendment Act, Article 38, Subclause 2, minimize inequality in income status, facilities and opportunities. 86th Amendment Act 2002, Article 45 was rewritten to focus on early childhood care and education for all children until they complete the age of 6 years. 97th Amendment Act 2011, Article 43B, promote the voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control and professional management of cooperative societies. Some directives outside Part 4. First, claims of SC/ST to services, Article 335, Part 16. Second, instruction in mother tongue, Article 350A, Part 17. Development of Hindi language, Article 351, Part 17. Significance of DPSP. First, welfare state. Transitions India from a colonial police state to a modern welfare-oriented democracy for all citizens. Example, schemes like Ayushman Bharat uphold Article 47. Second, socio-economic democracy. ensures that political freedom is backed by social and financial security. Example, Manrega fulfills the right to work Article 41 and living wage Article 43. Judicial interpretative tool. Example, right to digital access was recognized as essential for fulfilling Article 38's equality mandate in Amar Jain case. Fourth, policy continuity ensures a common minimum political manifesto that remains consistent even when governments change after election. Fifth, legislative roadmap acts as a constitutional to-do list for Parliament to draft transformative laws for the marginalized. Example, Maternity Benefit Act to fulfill Article 42. Sixth, economic justice and equality mandates the state to prevent the concentration of wealth and ensure fair distribution of resources. Seventh, International Relation Guide. Example, India's active role in UN peacekeeping and climate pacts align with the mandate of Article 51. Eighth, Environmental Stewardship. Example, the Project Lion and Project Tiger initiatives are practical implementation of the directives in Article 48A. Ninth, democratic accountability allows the electorate and the opposition to evaluate a government's performance based on constitutional benchmarks. Next, criticism of directive principles. First, lack of legal force. Being non justiciable, they are often dismissed as mere pious wishes or moral precepts without teeth. Example, gender pay gap. Second, illogical arrangement. Critics like Ivor Jennings noted that DPSP are not logically classified or based on consistent philosophy. Ambiguity and vagueness. Example, adequate means of livelihood. Article 39A lacks a quantitative definition. Fourth, incompatibility with federalism. The center can issue directions to state to implement DPSP. Failure may lead to precedent rule. Fifth, drain on exchequer. Example, prohibition Article 47 as a loss of essential excise revenue. Sixth, vulnerability to political populism. Government may use DPSP as a shield to pass populist law that infringe on individual liberties. Example, UCC. Seventh, judicial overreach. Scope for inventing new rights by reading DPSP into fundamental rights. Eighth, tyranny of the majority. Critics of Article 44 Uniform Civil Code fear that it may use to impose majority culture on minorities. Now, conflict between fundamental rights and DPSP. First, Champakam Dorairajan case 1951. The Supreme Court ruled that fundamental rights are superior to DPSP. If they conflict, fundamental rights would prevail and DPSP must run as a subsidiary to them. Second, Golaknath case 1967 held that fundamental rights are sacrosanct and cannot be amended by Parliament even to implement the directive principles. Third, Keswananda Bharati case 1973. It overruled Golaknath case. It held that Parliament can amend any part of the Constitution, including fundamental right, to implement DPSP, provided the basic structure is not destroyed. Fourth, Minerva Mills case 1980, a landmark ruling that established the doctrine of harmony. The court held that Indian Constitution is founded on the bedrock of balance between fundamental rights and DPSP. Neither has absolute supremacy over the other. Fifth, Unni Krishnan case 1993. The Supreme Court famously bridged the gap by reading Article 45 education into Article 21, demonstrating that DPSP can be used to expand FR. Sixth, present position. Fundamental rights enjoy supremacy over DPSP except for Article 39B and C, which enjoy supremacy over Article 14 and 19. Next, India's achievements. Economic justice and livelihood. Article 38, 39, 41. Manrega provides legal right to work. Article 41 supporting nearly 15 crore household annually. Second is financial inclusion. PM Jan Dhan Yojana brought over 55 crore citizens into the formal banking system, preventing the concentration of wealth. Article 39C. Third, PM Kisan provides direct income support to 11 crore farmers. Article 38. Next, social justice and legal aid. Article 39A and 46. Nalsa and Lok Adalat fulfill Article 39A by providing free legal aid. In 2025, Lok Adalat settled over 1.2 crore cases in a single year. Scholarship for SC/ST in the 2025-26, over 7,200 crore was released to 61 lakh SC beneficiaries under Post Merit Scholarship Scheme. Article 46. Grassroots democracy. Article 40. Panchayati Raj, the 73rd and 74th achievement. Almost all 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayats are connected via BharatNet, enabling local self-government through e-governance. Public health and nutrition. Article 47. Ayushman Bharat PMJ, world's largest health insurance scheme, covers all senior citizens aged 70 plus as of late 2025. National Food Security Act provides subsidized food grain to 80 crore people. Education and child right. Article 45. Right to education. Article 45 was upgraded to fundamental rights. Article 41A in 2002. Early childhood care. The PM Poshan, formerly midday meal, and Anganwadi system are now catered to over 10 crore children and pregnant women. Next is last is environment and wildlife. Article 48A. So forest cover. India is one of the few countries where forest cover has stabilized or increased in the 21st century, approx 24.6% of geographical area. Second, Project Tiger and Lion. Success in wildlife conservation has seen tiger population cross 3900 by 2025-26. Next topic is fundamental duties. The 42nd Amendment added fundamental duties to the Indian Constitution based on recommendation of Swaran Singh Committee in 1976 through Part 4A and Article 51A, initially listing 10 duties. Fundamental duties emphasize the moral obligation and commitment of citizens towards society and nation, highlighting the inseparable nature of rights and duties. These are the duties. First, to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideal institution, the national flag and national anthem. Second, to cherish and follow noble ideals of a national struggle for freedom. Third, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Fourth, to defend the country and render national service when called upon. Fifth, promote harmony and brotherhood and renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. Sixth, to value and preserve the composite culture of our heritage. Seventh, to protect and improve the natural environment. Eighth, to develop scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry. Ninth, to safeguard public property and abjure violence. 10th, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity. 11th, to provide educational opportunity to children aged 6 to 14 years, added by 86th Amendment 2002. Laws implementing fundamental duties. First, Prevention of Insults to National Honors Act 1971 prevents the disrespect of flag, constitution and anthem. Second, Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955 implements the duty to promote brotherhood and equality. Third, Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and Forest Conservation Act 1980 enforce the duty to protect the natural environment. Fourth, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967 related to the duty to uphold sovereignty and integrity. Fifth, Right to Education Act 2009 gives statutory effect to the 11th duty regarding child education. Next, significance of fundamental duties. First, constitutional reminder. It acts as a constant reminder that citizens must perform duties while enjoying their rights. Second, warning against anti-socials. It serves as a warning against activities like burning the flag or destroying public property. Third, judicial interpretation tool. Fourth, promoting patriotism. Fifth, environmental stewardship. Sixth, fostering scientific temper. Um, Seventh, global alignment. It aligns the Indian Constitution with Article 29(1) of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Criticism of fundamental duties. First, non-justiciable. They without direct judicial enforcement, they remain mere code of conduct. Second, vague terminology. Terms like composite culture and scientific temper are subjective and difficult for commoners to understand. Incomplete list. Major duties like paying taxes or voting were excluded despite Swaran Singh committee recommendations. Next is placement in constitution. Placed in part 4A after DPSP instead of part 3, reducing their perceived importance. Fifth, potential for state misuse. Government may use duty towards the state to suppress legitimate dissent or free speech. Sixth, historical baggage. Their introduction in during the internal emergency 1976 leads to association with authoritarian state control. Seventh, lack of awareness. Despite 50 years, a majority of the population is unaware of the specific 11 duties. Important judgments. First, Chandra Bhavan Boarding versus State of Mysore, 1969. It upheld minimum wage legislation, emphasizing the balance of rights and duties. Next, Balaji Raghavan versus Union of India, 1995. It upheld the constitutionality of national awards, linking them to the duty of striving towards excellence. Article 51(a)(j). Third, Javed versus State of Haryana supported a law limiting the number of children one can have for eligibility in local election. Next, enforceability of fundamental duties. Arguments in favor. First, deterrence against vandalism. Making safeguarding public property enforceable would provide a direct legal basis to recover damage from rioters and vandals. Second, balancing rights and responsibility. It prevents the rights only culture. If citizens benefit from state provided rights, they must be legally accountable for civic contribution. Third, national integration. Legally mandating respect for national symbols and promotion of brotherhood could act as a check on rising communal and divisive tendencies. Fourth, effective policy implementation. It would provide the state with stronger constitutional shield when passing laws that restrain certain freedom from the sake of for the sake of public duty. Next, argument against anti-enforceability. First, state tyranny and surveillance. Uh, Enforceability could be misused by government to suppress dissent or label any criticism of the state as violation of duty towards the nation. Second, vagueness of language. Terms like scientific temper, noble ideas are too subjective. Legal enforceability can lead to judicial overreach. Third, burden on judiciary. As of 2026, Indian courts already face a backlog of 5 crore cases. Enforceable duties would trigger a massive wave of frivolous litigation between citizens. Fourth, violation of liberty. Forced excellence or patriotism contradicts the essence of liberal democracy. Fifth, redundancy. Most critical duties, that is,